This is the SimPure T1-400UV. And the biggest change I noticed in daily life was how much space I got back under the sink, while still pouring glass after glass of crisp, nearly zero TDS water on demand. I see this as a modern tankless reverse osmosis system built for small kitchens. For anyone who wants very clean water without babysitting a storage tank or giving up an entire cabinet. It suits homes on municipal lines where chlorine and taste are issues. And it's also a strong fit for well water because of the added UV stage. If you're picky about taste, or you've dealt with scale in kettles and coffee gear, this kind of setup speaks your language. The design immediately impacts how the cabinet feels. By skipping a storage tank, the footprint shrinks to a slim vertical chassis that tucks to one side and frees up the middle for cleaning supplies or a trash bin. The build is mostly sturdy white plastic with fittings where they matter. The color-coded tubes keep install and future swapping simple. The dedicated faucet is a clean, lead-free gooseneck that doesn't try to be flashy, and its smooth lever makes it easy to feather the flow when I'm rinsing a small cup or filling a pot. There's no digital readout on the faucet, which I'll come back to, but the body of the unit has something I appreciate way more. An analog pressure gauge that tells me, at a glance, how the system is doing. If the needle rides lower than usual, I know the pre-filters are clogging. If it climbs too high, the RO membrane is nearing the end. That little dial actually removed a lot of guesswork from maintenance. Setup felt straightforward. I'm comfortable with DIY plumbing, but this didn't ask much. The cartridges came pre-installed, which meant less unboxing chaos and fewer chances to miss a step. I measured and drilled for the faucet, mounted the drain saddle, routed the color-coded lines, then plugged it in. Flushing was necessary, and I let it run for around 20 minutes. I saw the usual black carbon flecks in the first minute or two. That's normal with new carbon filters, and it cleared quickly. I checked every connection for leaks while it pumped, and then I took a TDS reading to get a baseline. One note from my setup: some GFCI outlets are touchy with pump startup surges. On day one, I tripped the GFCI twice, and ended up moving the plug to a different protected circuit after consulting an electrician. Since then, no trips. Using it day to day has a rhythm. There's a short pause before water flows as the internal pump kicks in. After that, the stream is steady and predictable. Filling an 8-ounce glass takes roughly 10 to 12 seconds in my kitchen, which is fast enough that I never feel like I'm waiting around, even when I'm cooking. It's not the instant blast you'd get from a pressurized tank, but it never runs out mid-fill, and I've come to prefer the consistency. The pump does make a hum and a slight vibration when running. Under sink, with the cabinet closed, it's more of a low murmur. It's present, not annoying, and it stops the second I close the faucet. On performance, the filtration stack handles the ugly stuff long before it ever hits the membrane. Sediment first, then a carbon block to pull chlorine and off odors, so the RO membrane doesn't get chemically chewed up. The membrane is the heavy lifter here, and the results are obvious when I measure TDS. My tap water sits around 200 ppm. Right after installation, and after that initial flush, I saw output between 0 and 5 ppm during normal use. What's more nuanced is the TDS creep you get when the system sits idle. If I open the faucet after a long pause, the first second or two might read 30 to 60 ppm from the small pocket of water that sat against the membrane. A quick flush drops it right back down, and I barely think about it now. The last pass is a post-carbon polish to make sure the taste is neutral, and the UV module flips on automatically with flow to zap anything biological that slips through or leaches from old pipes. I don't rely on UV for taste, but it does give me peace of mind, especially after living through boil water advisories in my area. I tested the system the way I actually drink and cook. Coffee and tea were the easiest tells. With the T1-400UV, my pour-over has a cleaner sweetness and no odd bitterness from local water chemistry. Green tea lost that faint metallic edge I'd grown used to. Ice from the freezer trays turned glass clear and didn't leave that chalky film I used to see at the bottom of my water bottle. The inside of my stainless kettle stayed spotless after weeks, which is not how it looked before. For soups and pasta, I used filtered water for the boil. Starchy foam felt a touch cleaner, and there was zero chlorine smell when the pot first heated up. I also cooked a big batch of rice using filtered water only. Texture came out fluffy and the pot cleaned easier, because there's no mineral crust baked onto the base. These are small wins that add up to a kitchen that's easier to maintain and drinks that taste more consistent day after day. On days when I'm filling bigger containers, like a 3-quart pot for stock, I notice the steady pace more than with a glass. But the predictability matters. I turn the faucet, wait a beat, and I know exactly how long it'll take. While it runs, I prep ingredients, and the hum becomes background noise. Having no tank means I never get that pressure drop then wait half an hour moment I used to hate. And for anyone who worries about water waste with RO, the ratio here is significantly better than my old system. It sends roughly 1 gallon down the drain for every 1.5 gallons I keep, which feels reasonable compared to the 3 or 4 gallons I used to waste in the past. It won't convince a skeptic overnight, but it took the edge off my own hesitation. A few features genuinely improve the experience. Those twist-in cartridges are the kind of thing you don't appreciate until you're on your knees under the sink with a towel. When it's time to swap, I twist, pull, click in the new one, and I'm done in seconds, clean and dry. The analog pressure gauge is another quiet win. Instead of guessing at timelines, I watch how the needle behaves and change parts when performance says it's time. There's also the reality that a tankless system keeps water moving. I don't worry about 5 days of stale water sitting in a tank. What I draw is what just got filtered. The UV stage is easy to forget about because it just works in the background, but I like knowing it's there when I'm dealing with older building plumbing. It's not perfect. The startup delay is part of how a tankless RO works, and I accept it, but someone used to an instant gush from a tank will notice. The pump hum is audible, and in a very quiet kitchen at night, I'm aware of it. A quick flush after long idle to clear TDS creep has become part of my muscle memory, but it's a behavior change. The faucet has stayed tight for me overall, though I've given the nut a nudge once after months of use. There's no live TDS readout on the faucet or the unit, so I keep a small handheld meter in the drawer for spot checks. I did have a waste solenoid fail after close to 2 years. Support was surprisingly responsive, and they shipped me a replacement part even though I was just beyond the formal warranty. Swapping it was straightforward, and the system's been solid again. Taste is the last piece of the puzzle. Ultra-low TDS water is very neutral. I prefer that for brewing and for general hydration. But if you love the mouthfeel of mineral-rich water, this will taste a bit flat. The good news is SimPure has a remineralization version, or you can add your own minerals if you want that profile. I kept mine stock because I'm chasing consistency for coffee and tea, and this hits that target. The practical question is whether this is right for your kitchen. If cabinet space is tight, you want clean-tasting water without a tank hogging the corner. And you like the idea of near-zero TDS output, plus a UV safety net. This checks the boxes. If you're sensitive to pump noise, or you want tap-like pressure with no delay, a traditional tanked system might still feel more familiar. If you enjoy a mineral kick in your water, consider the alkaline variant, or plan to remineralize. For me, the balance of space savings, on-demand consistency, and very low maintenance made it easy to keep using every day. I drink more water now because it tastes the same every time, and I've stopped buying cases of bottles, which feels better from a waste perspective and just simplifies life. This is the kind of upgrade that reshapes small routines. Morning coffee, filling the humidifier, weeknight pasta, refilling a sports bottle before a run. It fits into those moments quietly, and once you adapt to the short startup and the quick flush for best readings, it fades into the background until you need it. I like that the system tells me how it's doing through a simple pressure gauge rather than blinking lights I'll forget. And I like that filter changes are so fast I don't put them off. After living with it, I don't miss the old tank at all. If you want ultra-clean water from a compact system, and you're fine with a small pause and a gentle hum while it runs, the SimPure T1-400UV earns a spot under the sink. If you prefer a mineral taste or absolute silence, look at the alkaline variant or a different style entirely. For me, this setup hit that sweet spot of performance, simplicity, and everyday convenience. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments how your water setup is working for you, or what you're considering next.